Sun and water are essential for the survival of all known forms of life. Gas has proven to be useful in the domestic and industrial setting. Water, gas, and sun, though have their various uses, also have one common function: electricity generation. Located in the tropical West Africa, Nigeria is blessed with vast sources of water and sunshine. She is also blessed with natural fuels, among which are crude oil, coal, and gas. But do Nigerians utilize these sources of power, or do they at least utilize effectively and enjoy a good number of them? Water, made up of hydrogen and oxygen, is used to generate hydroelectricity through hydropower. Hydropower is the force moving water uses to propel a water turbine connected to a generator, and this process produces electricity. Hydroelectricity is cheap, and water which it uses is often replenished by the hydrologic process, also known as the water cycle. It is one of the oldest forms of power generation by many countries around the world. Nigeria, being a tropical West African country, is blessed with abundant water resources. She has a temperature ranging between 22 and 36 degrees centigrade. This makes for abundant rainfall and sunshine. Nigeria's two main rivers, the Niger and the Benue rivers, converge and pour into the Niger Delta, which is the world's largest river. With this abundance of water resources, the country can generate enough hydroelectricity. This began since 1896 in Ijora, Lagos. Ever since, she has built many dams across the country. A dam is a barrier built across the river to store water and generate electricity. The dams in Nigeria include Kenji and Shiroro dams in Niger State, Ashejire Dam in Oyo State, and Oyon Dam in Ogun State, among others. So why is hydroelectricity so dysfunctional in the face of abundant water resource?
I don't go to collect money every month, but we know they use light. Even they go come cut and carry wire go. Say we no pay 1 month, we no pay 2 months. I beg, make una tell them, they kill people, heat, they kill people too much.
It's only in this country that you come here and then all of a sudden NEPA will go off and all that. In other countries, I understand that if you take their light, they'll sue you. People will sue you to court for interrupting their businesses and all that.
Hydroelectricity is a good source of massive amounts of electricity when you have the flow of water. You know, it has its constraints. Sometimes the dams go low, so you don't have a good flow of water. But then when you produce that electricity in a location, you now may have to transmit the electricity from that location to another location.
In this case, government, I think they are still very, very okay with what we are having. The masses suffering the epileptic power supply while they smile back to the bank because they need to sell their fuel.
If they can bring down the mafias in diesel industry, there will be electricity.
Nigeria has a natural gas reserve of about 187 trillion cubic feet. But in the 2009 edition of the annual Oloibiri Lecture and Energy Forum, the Special Advisor to the President on Petroleum Matters, Emmanuel Eboga, submitted that the country's natural gas reserve could be as high as 600 trillion cubic feet, which is much higher than the nation's crude oil resources. Nigeria also has associated gas sources from oil wells and coal beds. Gas is used on a small scale in the home. It is used on medium and large scales for industrial heating, fertilizer and petrochemical manufacturing, as well as power generation, among others. To generate power, natural gas is used to turn a turbine. Gas is purer and more environment-friendly than other fossil fuels such as oil and coal, which release higher levels of harmful emission of nitrogen, sulfur, and particles during combustion.
Gas is cleaner than petrol, but it's still bad for the ozone, it's bad for the climate because it puts carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is not a good thing to be having in excess in the atmosphere.
This gas, which they say is harmful to the atmosphere, but if it is used in other forms, like generating of electricity, it will be much better and beneficial to the poor masses, rather than allowing it to burn to waste.
The country is currently said to be one of those involved in the largest gas flaring in the world, with a daily loss of about $2.5 billion US, a wastage that shouldn't be, but exploited for the economic and social benefits it can give. The sun is approximately 1.4 million kilometers wide against the Earth's width of about 13,000 kilometers, making the sun capable of heating up about 1 million Earths. The sun radiates heat and light energy that support life. Solar energy, which is also called solar power, is a conversion of sunlight into electricity using photovoltaic. Photovoltaic, or PV, is the field of technology related to the application of solar cells for energy by converting sunlight directly into electricity. With 36 degrees centigrade as the highest temperature, Nigeria has enough sunshine in a year for enough solar electricity.
Solar energy is an energy that everybody would like to use because it is saving the world of the ozone layer, consuming the excessive heat that is being provided to the earth from the sun. So what we do is converting this sun energy to electricity instead of it having it in abundance, which here in Africa we do have in abundance because as we can see, we have almost 6 to 7 hours of sunlight in a day, and that is enough for us to power your house, your company, your street lights, traffic lights, billboards, the telecommunication mast, and all what you have that has to do with electricity. So we're converting this sun that is heavy on us, instead of being heavy on us, we're converting it as a source of electricity.
In solar, you have two types of solar panels. You have the photovoltaic, which is the traditional, what you see, for instance, on our street lights. And secondly, you also have thermal solar panels. Our thermal solar panels are more efficient, but they convert the heat or the source of power from the sun, they convert it into heat. So you can use it for heating water, such that you don't need a boiler. You can use that on a rooftop. You fit it, and all your for washing yourself in the bathroom, to your kitchen, to even having a washing machine.
At one time, when these technology became available, it first came out during the space exploration. They needed an electricity source for the space capsules. So that's when it first came out. There was good research to bring it out. It was adequate for running the space capsules. But we have very reliable information that when major oil companies saw that this thing was coming out and they felt threatened that, hey, there's a possibility of a free energy source, almost free, because it comes from the sun. It relies on nature, relies on what God has put in place, which is sunlight on a daily basis to give electricity. They felt threatened. They felt it would affect their business. So we have it from reliable sources that they bought out a lot of the patents and just sort of locked them up in a safe for many years, until there was a time when there was an oil crisis in the mid-60s, and they started getting scared that, oh, we might not be able to get oil easily from the Middle East and all that. So they now brought out the patents and they did a little bit of token research on it. So because not much research has been done, the system is not very efficient and it's not very cost-effective vis-a-vis main grid electricity or fossil fuel-fired internal combustion engines, that is generator power.
There is no pollution. It has no pollution like what we have from the generators and the listers, and your appliances are safe. There will be no fluctuation in power, normal as we experience every day from the public utility providers.
Coal and wind are other forms of energy that can generate electricity. Experts also say waste and other elements can generate power as well.
Waste is another beautiful one. I mean, it seems to be the most beautiful of all. I mean, considering the environment where we're dwelling here, we have a municipal waste everywhere, littered everywhere around Lagos, I mean, across the nation. This waste can just be converted to electricity. When we talk about waste, we're not talking about cellophane, we're talking about decayable waste that can really decay and bring out that heat in it. And that heat is exactly what is giving you electricity.
Big Belly, which is a waste disposal compactor, and it is solar-based, but it requires very little energy. What it does is that it compacts all your waste that you throw about into 20% of its volume. So you're reducing the landfill requirements by 80%.
Wind is a new technology. It actually is not new. It's been around for a very long time. But for the fact that we're over here, for us, it's new. Wind technology has been there, and it's something that people are using it in Nigeria. I think I saw one somewhere, and gradually they are getting to embrace it. It's using the wind that we allow waste for nothing to power our electricity. The other day I was actually listening, I think it was your station, and I can understand that they wanted to install one, but they brought it to Nigeria, but the bridge where they want to pass to go and install it, that the bridge is so weak that they can't carry the weight because it has a very large weight. I'm talking about a wind that could be as tall as this, taller than this building.
We use geothermal. Geothermal is one of the things that we're using, busy developing now, so that we can use the different temperatures underground in order to be able to bring cold air or cold water up to the surface without actually touching the aquifer levels at all. In actual fact, what we do is that we put tubes down which are hermetically sealed, and we pump water in it. And at certain levels, the water temperature is cool. So what happens is that you're passing this water down into a certain level. It picks up or transmits the heat that it has and absorbs the cold from the environment or the water environment around it. Then it pumps itself back up and comes into a place where you have radiators, as opposed to the type of AC radiation that you are accustomed to. Is water radiation, and it passes through pipes in a house, and it cools down, picks up the heat in the atmosphere, releases the cold from the water, and goes down again and back up.
Nigerians are aware of these various forms of energy, but wonder why they are not fully utilized to generate electricity.
We've been blessed with the natural resources. The sun is there for us, which is the solar energy. And that could be, in fact, it should be the best source, because sun will always shine in Africa, especially in Nigeria. So we can tap from that, generate electricity through the solar system to supplement this water, because water is seasonal. So, but sun shines every day. So that is another source where the government can look into.
To start and apply solar energy as it is in Bayelsa, which is the best.
Because I don't think there's any other source except solar, but can Nigeria maintain solar energy?
We're not really making use of what we have. You know, God has given us this country, God has given us the sun. We have enough of sunshine, which is natural. And I believe that if we tap into it, the problem of electricity will be over.
The policy of our government needs to be kind of adjusted in order to suit companies that are ready to build a power station. Because a situation where if you have a power station, you cannot just go to people and start asking them to pay you. They are certainly going to pay you through a policy drive initiative of the government.
Wind power is something that's been neglected. In a country like Nigeria, where we have a lot of variations in heat differential, we have a lot of coastal area, and these are the things that cause wind movement. So I would prefer a hybrid system of solar and wind. So when the wind is low, the solar is there, tapping the sun's energy, charging up your batteries, and when the wind is high, the little windmills or the large windmills will take over and generate your electricity. These are far less impactful on the environment.
Nigeria is also able to provide electricity for other neighboring West African countries. But the country's electricity generation to her geographical boundary has been poor and epileptic for decades, and the situation is getting worse by the day, causing discomfort during the heat of the sun, as well as electronic damages, breakdown in economic activity, and also fire outbreaks in homes and offices. Citizens now rely on private generators to produce their own light, thereby making extra expenses on oil and endangering their health from the harmful chemical emission it releases, while still paying for the electricity bill they do not consume. Those who cannot afford a generator make do with the bits of power supplied and still pay exorbitant bills. Since Nigerians no more rely on the solace electricity can give after a hard and stressful day, it is not far-fetched that these unpopular complaints are very popular among them.
Everybody, no light, no every night, no light, in the morning, no light. Why? We want to know the reason.
Everywhere, jail, you don't market it. You reach us where you go rest. Another jail again, I beg, we don't like it.
What is happening between NEPA and generator importers? They kept people in the dark.
They give us like 2 hours in a day.
At least for the past 1 week now, we don't have light.
There's no light. Everyone on the street, we are making use of gen.
Light in my area is terrible.
Sometimes they might give us lights for in a week, just a day, which is very, very bad.
Since 2 weeks, we haven't got light.
In fact, there is no light at all. At times they bring the lights maybe around 2 o'clock. By 4 it is over. And that is for the whole day.
Since 3 weeks ago now, we have no light at all. I've been using stove iron to iron my clothes.
We hardly have lights 2 hours in a day. Sometimes you don't even see it.
It has been horrible for a long time now. For some weeks, we've not been having light. It has not been regular. We cannot store things in the freezer. We cannot even sleep properly.
Concerning this English Premiership, and Championship match, whenever it's time for them to, to head this program, NEPA just, the light goes off. Only God knows why they do that all the time, and it's really affecting everybody.
Nigeria's power sector has received some financial aid in the past, but little to show for it. The former administration of President Olusegun Obasanjo between 1999 and 2007 spent billions of US dollars on the power sector with no noticeable development in power supply. Not even changing the corporation's name from National Electricity Power Authority to Power Holding Company of Nigeria, nor commercializing it, made any positive change in the sector.
Our government really have to go back to the drawing table and try to replant things with the IPP. The IPP is not doing well. Why? Because the government clause are still on them. Government should re-amend our policy to accommodate independent power producers so that they will be able to produce power and have money back for them.
When we deal with PHCN, PHCN is not helpful at all. I will give you an example that on our street lights, okay, we have to, after having the sun cap, we now have to apply to PHCN. Why? Because it's generators. And we applied to SunCap for their certification, and you then find that they will issue out a certificate saying that our type of generator is wind and solar, and then they put fuel and they put diesel. Now that creates a whole lot of a problem because we don't use diesel. On the contrary, diesel is the one thing we shun and run away from. So you find therefore that there's a lot of ignorance on this. Everybody talks about solar or green energy or renewable energy, but the people who are supposed to help you, in actual fact, frustrate you because they don't know what they're doing, and whether it is intentional or not, they are not there to help you. And that is one of the problems that companies like ours faced in Nigeria, because we don't get actually any assistance from government.
When the current president, Umar Musa Yar'Adua, came into power in 2007, he initiated a 7-point agenda which includes power and energy. However, after about 3 years of its inception, electricity had never been so powerless. The country generates about 2,700 megawatts of power, but the president told Nigerians it would increase this to 6,000 megawatts by December 2009. Did Nigerians believe this was realizable?
I don't believe that we're going to generate 6,000 megawatts just from now to December, because the promise they've been trying to give us, they've not been able to keep any of them. And you know, since when they've promised this thing, we've not seen any sign of improvement. So the time is even short. I don't think they could be able to meet up.
Government promising 6,000 megawatts of light. We have had that before. And it's not the first time they are promising. As Nigerians, we are used to promises. We live in hope. One day it will be okay. But I wouldn't say I believe them until we see. So as a Nigerian, I only believe in what I see now.
This is 2010, and the citizens are yet to be convinced. It is also about 114 years of generating perennial wavering electricity, and the country now perceives power outages as a normal phenomenon. Still, the citizens prefer solutions.
Let our undergraduates do research. Government should sponsor research. You see, they waste our resources on other things that are immaterial. They should equip scientists in the university, undergraduate, spend so much money on research, and from there, they can work on solar energy and generate alternative source. And instead of allowing only NEPA to be the only source of other sources should be looked into.
Yeah, it depends on the intensity of the research. I remember my first mobile phone was a huge, massive contraption that didn't have a very good range reception, wasn't very good. And the phone, over the years, because demand was high, and sometimes it's, can I call it greed motivation? Or maybe I should just say the desire to make money. That sounds better than greed motivation. But when that motivation is there, then people will pump, energy and resources into the research. And we saw the phone shrink and shrink and shrink till now. You have what looks like a phone. It's actually a communicator and a computer and everything, all in one little piece, because intensive research has been done. If they do good research, definitely. We have the spirit of witty invention. We'll be able to get fantastic panels that will be very efficient and very effective.
This man has 7-point agenda, and he felt he's going to achieve it. But personally, the 7-point agenda, he cannot achieve everything. But if he can just pick that electricity only to do.
I think Nigeria needs economy policy reformation. And when that is done, I'm sure we'll begin to have a stable electricity in this country.
To Nigeria, and you find that you have 3 climatic zones. So the more northern you go, the more arid type of climate you have, and the more south you go, the more equatorial climate you have. And their behavior are totally different. So you find, therefore, that in Lagos or Port Harcourt or Calabar, okay, if you were to rely on one source of energy, you will find you will either have to bring in more backup. So the only alternative is then to find a hybrid system that would compensate for that. And that is where you start looking at, in my example, you use wind and you use solar. You put the two together, you reduce the requirements in batteries and make it more affordable.
That electricity can be generated from so many ways is something to look into, especially in President Yar'Adua's plan for electricity in his 7-point agenda, as well as something to consider in the initiative of the public-private participation. Therefore, in spite of resigning oneself to the poor power supply, it is still hoped that governments would take steps in the right direction to give constant light to the citizens.
One more time.